Hello everyone, it's your boy Hunt. The one called Fate is knocking at your door because he wants in on this brand new episode of Tabletop Recap. You got our regular Big Boy Chungus here.
Hello.
And a new face, or should I say a new voice to the podcast. The homie, the man, G.
Howdy.
G is not only new to the podcast, but today he was new to Dungeons & Dragons, and that's no longer true.
He got broken in today.
Real good. Okay, so one thing we do on the podcast is we roll for initiative, which we're going to do. But today's episode is just about some Dungeons & Dragons that we played today. We played just a little homebrew, real short one-shot that Big Boy Chungus wrote, just to kind of give himself an intro, which might have been a bad idea, simply because your first time DMing probably should not also be with a brand new player. We found out the hard way, because nobody was explaining anything as well, and I was just sitting there watching the chaos like a sociopath.
Well, G was a really good sport for a new player. To
be fair, you were enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, I was.
And I felt that I got some really good practicing as a DM. It's like I got thrown into the deep end, and I struggled for a little bit, and I managed just to tread water long enough to make it to the edge.
And plus, I wanted to play one of the fighters, but you decided that no, maybe we should give him a spellcaster anyway.
On the contrary, you played two fighters today because you couldn't keep any characters alive.
I kept my characters alive fine. It was Big Chungus over here who decided to nuke everyone, not once.
We'll get to
twice.
that. But yeah, today we played that small one, and also about the first half of D&D, The Lost Dungeon of Wretchedness, Big Rick Energy, which is the Rick and Morty Dungeons & Dragons module. And we'll do a dedicated episode or two on that when we get the regular group together to play it, but today we're just going to kind of talk about the best parts. But now we are going to roll for initiative to see who starts, and you can yield your time to someone else if you want.
10.
8.
All right, so I guess I'll start. A little bit of a recap. Today wasn't a whole lot of serious gaming. We were just really tired of being in quarantine, and we were desperate for some Dungeons & Dragons action. So last night, or I should say the night before this episode airs, I'm talking with Hunt, and we're like, we should play D&D tomorrow. Just forget it. Just come up with something. And I'm like, well, I've got this idea for a little kobold dungeon we could run. And he says, yeah, we should run that. And
it was a mistake.
It was kind of a mistake.
It took you you wrote it in like an hour, and it was like, oh, you didn't have anything ready. Not your fault. You just rushed.
I actually did have a lot of inspiration for it, but the problem with that was that the source material that I was drawing from was either very long and convoluted or almost destined to kill the players. So I would basically wound up having to make a very simplified little dungeon. I think, I'm looking at my picture here, it was only 4 rooms, all connected by various hallways. And I had to dumb down a lot of the stuff that I had originally planned because Hunt and G were only level 1 characters.
Yeah, we used the pre-mates from the Rick and Morty set. I was Summer and you were Jerry.
Yeah.
Which, for fighting kobolds is fine, but this dungeon that I created in like an hour, most of the stuff that's going to do damage is the environmental stuff. So let's just kind of walk through the rooms that we...
Oh, give us the quote-unquote story first.
Right. My first mistake was a DM was not giving you a proper introduction. I had
to ask you like 10 times what we were doing because I was so confused. I was like, is this the Baron's house? Are we in his basement? Is this a tunnel into his basement? I was so confused.
So towards the end, I finally got my story together, and I explained to them that a Baron of a town or a village by the name of Monty Hollow was looking for adventurers to solve a problem of his. So you guys accepted the offer and heard what the Baron had to say, and his deal was that his treasure room had been broken into. In his basement, he went down there to check one morning, and half of his treasure was gone. And in its place, there was just this medium-sized hole left in the floor. And he didn't want to send any of his guards down there, because who knows what was capable of burying or digging through stone and stealing that much treasure in the middle of the night. So he wanted to send just a couple of adventurers because he thought they were expendable. You guys accepted, and his reward for you guys was 200 gold pieces after the job was completed, because, you know, after he tells you how much gold was taken, this was a drop in the bucket for him. So you go down there, and the problem here is that when we first started the campaign, I just skipped all of that. I said, you're in the mouth of a dungeon, go.
Yeah, and I was like, what are we doing? What's our objective? And also you forgot what armor class was. You forgot what passive perception was. No, I mean, it's been a while. And you've never DM'd. So.
What's even worse is that I know what all of that stuff is. It just went way over my head.
I think you were nervous. I think you were a little nervous.
And a little excited. It was that kind of nervous where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into this. And I wound up putting the cart before the horse, or the dungeon before the quest giver.
You've been waiting way too long to DM. You kept trying to get us to start Waterdeep today, and we were like, no, we can't start Waterdeep without the rest of the group.
And I'm actually glad you guys stopped me on that, because after seeing what happened today with this little homebrew, I probably could have royally messed that up.
Had to stop you multiple times, actually.
Fair. So now that we've got that out of the way, we'll just kind of start with the first room. So the first room is this kind of oval-shaped, it's one of the larger of the 4 rooms. And in it, there are 3 kobolds, one of which is working on in a little alchemy station. The other one is messing with some chests, which none of you guys either perceived or bothered to interact with.
I don't think we perceived it.
And then there's another one who's just kind of fiddling with one of the walls. He's just kind of doing his kobold thing. A second mistake, I might add, was that you guys never perceived that they were kobolds. I just told you that they were, which is a big D&D or DM no-no. Although that one was more of a slip. So what did you guys do once you realized that you were at the entrance of this larger room?
I started that one off.
Yeah, I tried to intimidate him. Didn't work. 2 ran away. Slaughtered 1.
Yeah, so someone rolled a crit fail.
That was me. Crit fail to intimidate.
Right.
And then 2 still ran for some reason.
So the thing you have to realize about kobolds is they are very cowardly creatures. All the people that I've seen DM kobold encounters is that unless they know for a fact that they can overwhelm you or trick you, they're usually going to flee. So I'm going to fill you guys in with what was going on. The kobold who was working at the alchemy station got advantage to react to your crit fail. Basically what he did was he pulled a lever on the alchemy station, which sent a small cone-shaped geyser of boiling water flying in your direction.
Which I easily evaded.
But
someone else didn't.
I wanted to, but in the time it was taking me to still learn what my spells were, someone said, all right, this is taking too long, you're just going to take the damage. I was planning on just using Ray of Frost and freezing the water before it got to me, or at least turning it into steam before it got there. That way I would be unharmed. But in my inability to move quickly and think quickly at that time, it didn't work out that way.
And I think part of that was also, again, on me. I still have not learned how to balance punishments for crit fails.
Yeah, because every single crit fail, 4 crit fails, I crit failed once, he crit failed like 3 times. Yeah. And we were never punished for any of them. And then when you guys crit failed when I was DMing, I was like,
the worst.
You lose your axe, you're blind.
It was a good learning experience for me, because when you are essentially God in this mini multiverse, don't be afraid to spank your players. So basically, what wound up happening was after that, the kobold who was fiddling against the far wall, he runs off into an unknown hallway. The other one runs into a hallway on the opposite side of the room as the other one that the first kobold ran through. And so it was you guys versus this other kobold by the alchemy station. Now, the kobold that ran into the hallway closest to you guys, if you'll look here, it was this one right here.
Yeah, you're giving visual aids to an audio podcast, bud.
Sorry. Basically, there's a tunnel on the southern part of the first room. And the kobold that runs down there, is a dunce. Like, he is expendable in the eyes of his comrades. And they actually had a plan before any adventures came down that if something should happen, he is to run down this little corridor with a bell on his neck, and he is just supposed to try and get adventurers' attention.
And it worked on somebody. Didn't work on me.
To be fair, you said your plan was to clear out. I merely brought up what your plan was.
And then I said, it's one kobold. Guards can handle one kobold.
And we're kind of
jumping. I don't care. I already have 400 gold. I got 200 more when I leave.
And basically what happens is this kobold is basically preparing to self-sacrifice himself in a death trap that drops this giant boulder on top of him and will proceed to roll towards adventurers. And if they're not careful or fast enough, it will crush them. Which it almost did.
No, we evaded it pretty easily, actually.
Yeah. Right. So at this point, you kill the kobold by the alchemy station without too much trouble. And so we're going on to the next part. Now you have two hallways that you have not explored yet. There's one directly ahead of you and one to the left. You still hear the jingling of the third kobold on the third unexplored hallway, but you guys decided to just keep going straight.
I was very uncontent here because I made a great acrobatics check to go over like a 5 foot full of water, 5 foot deep and across. And nor was it? How deep was it?
It was a 5 foot pool, five square foot pool of water.
Yeah, I rolled a great throw to get over it. It was like a 14 or something. And then you were like, do a saving throw. I was like, what for? And so I did the saving throw, and you were like, oh, you get your feet wet, and so now it's -5 to your movement. And I was like, because my feet are wet?
That's actually...
what?
That's actually... That was actually on the fly. That was a very poor judgment on my part, because I'm not used to judging, what constitutes as success, moderate success, and then failure.
I was like, this is... I almost cursed. I'm like angry right now. I was like, ooh!
The pool was actually full of quippers, which is the D&D's version equivalent of piranhas. And kobolds are actually known for using several environmental traps. One video that I watched, they have grease traps in some of their tunnels where there'll be a puddle of grease that you can't avoid unless you make a really high acrobatics check. And if you fail... you trigger fire arrows and just do a lot of damage. There's also another one where if you don't survive on the Quipper water trap, you fall in and then the Quippers get a chance to go at you. After seeing, you were right. You did make a decent fail, or you made a decent succeed. Sorry, you made a decent succeed, and I didn't want to punish you with having you take damage with Quippers. So I just said, oh, your shoes get really soggy and you lose 5 feet of movement for the next minute or so.
I just didn't understand the saving throw at all because I felt like I should have been in the clear. And then this guy just froze it solid. He was like, screw these fish.
To be fair, I froze it solid on the second try. The first try, crit failed and absolutely froze my hand. Yeah. However, what felt like should have been a punishment just ended up making my hand feel numb.
Yeah, you had already taken damage from the boiling water, so I felt like giving you damage for frostbite, self-inflicted, was... The reason I did that was because my goal was not to try and kill the players on their first try.
Well, I had you kill yourself with a crit today.
But I'm not a new player, and it's kind of a tactic.
And you made a really dumb decision, and you deserved it.
Yes, that's true. We'll get to that. But, I've always heard that it's taboo for whether you're a new DM or an old DM, it's always a taboo to kill a brand new player on their first run.
Unless it's Connor, who died in every game of Munchkin he's ever played.
Well, Connor's also not a new player to D&D, so he's fair game.
That's Munchkin, not D&D.
Yeah, it was fun, though.
But anyways...
D&D with...
It's just an abbreviated version. Yeah, I played it.
Yeah.
So that you guys continue, and you come across to a very circular room. And in this room, there's 5 sleeping bags, a bonfire in the dead center with, you perceived... kobold eggs arranged in a circular trench around the fire that are being warmed very nicely.
We slayed those kobolds pretty hard.
Yeah, you did.
We destroyed them.
You did.
I didn't lose a single hit point that whole game.
Yeah, no, I was struggling to survive while you were sitting there just sitting pretty.
Yeah, you went unconscious at one point, and I never lost a hit point.
I'm going to say right now, you guys would have died at one point if it weren't for the fact that I had something planned just in case. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So, in this room, there were... 2 kobolds. There was one kobold by another entrance, and the other kobold who'd run in here from the alchemy room. So you guys... no, I remember there was one kobold. And you had sneak attack advantage, and you get your bow ready, you line it up, and you loose it, and you just peg this sucker to a wall.
Then I crushed all their eggs.
And then I screamed no.
And then that attracted more.
It attracted one who comes in horrified at the sight of his impaled comrade, and then this other guy who is literally killing their baby.
And the reason why is I didn't know what the eggs were. I wasn't sure if it was actual kobold eggs or if it was like some other beast.
I thought I said they were kobold eggs.
You did, but not until after he had crushed them.
Oh, okay. So another DM mistake.
I just assumed, and I was like, you know what? No chances.
I mean, because like,
well, what would you have done though if those happened to be dragon eggs though?
That was my concern.
They were tiny. You said they were small. I was like, there's no dragon in those eggs.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, because I didn't know they were kobold eggs until you came in and said that horrified as crushed
Also,
offspring.
if they were dragons, I would have got a lot of XP.
True. So, anyways, we make our way to the next room, and this is, unbeknownst to you guys, the treasure room. There is a medium...
Well, it wasn't unbeknownst to us, because you drew everything, told us what it was, put the minis down, and then we're like, oh, but you can't see that half of the room. We were like, are you sure? Because you just told us everything that's in it and put down the minis.
Yeah, another learning moment. First time DM, ladies and gentlemen. So, anyways, in this room...
You missed the whole fight with the centipedes.
Who cares?
Yeah, you guys did that one fine. They were just
a big pod of normal-sized centipedes.
So in this treasure room, you've got there's this obsidian statue of a black dragon, and around the statue there is just gold, coins, gemstones, and a couple magical weapons that are surrounded. But in this room, there are 2 kobold shield guardians, which are beefier than your average kobold, and 1 kobold sorcerer. This guy is a 3rd level caster.
Yeah. They weren't so bad, except I kept rolling 10s.
Yeah. So you, G, actually wound up getting knocked unconscious by the shield guardians.
To be fair, my plan was seemingly solid. Would have set Hunt up pretty. Because I tried to throw my voice with prestidigitation and make him seem like we were coming from the other direction.
You tried getting them to go down another hallway in the treasure room so you could clear it out.
Which Hunt even gave credit for me. That was actually a pretty smart move. Even though
I've been trying to give constructive criticism all day, but also tell you guys when you're being dumb.
Right.
Which consisted of every other incident during the day.
So because you made an average 10, I said you successfully throw your voice, but your voice kind of just trails along that whole wall. So the kobolds just know that there's some noise coming from the southern side of this wall. They just don't know which direction. So they start investigating, and they eventually find you, but not before you, Mr. Hunt, get an advantage sneak attack roll on one of the kobolds, I believe.
Yeah.
I destroyed that sucker.
Yeah.
No, I casted Ray of Frost first.
Yeah, that's right. So we rolled initiative and you went first, and you actually froze one of the arms of the kobolds entirely. So you had disadvantage on attacks.
I think I killed all the kobolds but one, except for... Oh yeah, there was the Todoroki one that you froze half
That's
of.
at the end, though.
Okay, is that at the end? You just said froze. Oh, that is at the end.
Okay.
It was in that past room.
Well,
yeah.
Regardless, you guys don't do so hot. And to be honest, it's all because you guys are making bad rolls. But G gets knocked unconscious, and Hunt's now fighting these 3, a little bit more imposing kobolds. And all of a sudden you hear...
No, it was just one.
No, it's 3.
We killed 2 of them.
We killed 2 of them after this happens. Because after this...
You're forgetting the druid.
No, the druid only killed 1.
The druid knocked 1 unconscious.
And then he
so he didn't kill any then.
Then he scared the other 2, remember?
Into the other room, in which case...
No, I don't.
Okay, anyways. You got 1 player down, 1 player surrounded, and all of a sudden you hear this just roar coming from the other hallway in this room. And the kobolds recognize the sound. And it is a bear. Kobolds are a cave-dwelling lizard people, and they live in caves because there's not a lot of predators that live in caves. But bears happen to be the one predator that do live in caves, so they're absolutely terrified of them.
Yeah, as long as you don't count other predators that live in caves.
It's the most common one in a forest area. Okay.
Are we in a forest area? I thought we were in a town.
I'm getting to why there is a forest area involved. So this bear comes in and it scares two of the other kobolds off, but it knocks one of the other ones, the sorcerer specifically, unconscious. And after it does this, it approaches you and starts talking to you.
Yeah, I had animal handling proficiency, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to make this bear my friend. And then the bear was like, "Oi, governor!"
I gave it a British accent.
On accident, which was the best part. Like, it didn't have the British accent, but you kept using, like, British slang and stuff, so it just developed one.
And so what wound up happening is this bear transforms into a druid, and he proceeds to tell them that he was, minding his own business, taking care of his forest, when all of a sudden he was knocked out from behind, and he woke up in a little medium-sized cage. He then, after he wakes up, he hears, as the term I used and was met with laughter, called a scuffle. And he transforms into a bear, which is a very large creature, breaks the cage he's in, and comes to where G and Hunt are fighting these kobolds, and now you know how he got there. He tells them all this, and he explains the room that is the fourth and final room, which is their little prison area. It's just scattered with a bunch of medium to small-sized crates for catching animals, and they just happen to take him and put him in one of the medium boxes. Life goes on. At that point, the rest is pretty much just filler. You guys decide to loot the treasure pile. You guys get some cool magical items and at least 200 to 400 pieces of gold.
Yeah, I ended that quest with 600 gold exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so after we beat all the kobolds and we left and the druid went out the forest entrance that the kobolds came in from, we left out the basement entrance to see the Baron and his guards, and we were like, okay, we cleared it out. There is an extra entrance down there, so you'll need to seal that up so people can't get into your basement. Kill the kobolds, and etc. Your treasure and more is down there, but you had a shield that you looted, which turned out to be the Baron's shield.
Yeah, you get the Morning Star that he's never seen before, and I get the shield that turns out to be his.
So this was actually something that I kind of anticipated, because, see, I mentioned earlier, I didn't say this on the podcast, but I mentioned during the campaign that the treasure matches, it's enough to match the amount that the Baron had stolen, but it looks a little bit bigger than you had expected. That's because these kobolds have actually been stealing treasure and stuff from other surrounding settlements.
Yeah, that's what we expected.
So had you just stolen the treasure, the Baron never would have known.
We couldn't have stolen that entire treasure.
No, you couldn't have, but that treasure was fine. But the fact that, there were some magical items in the Baron's storeroom that were stolen. The Morning Star was not his, the one that Hunt got. However, G had a shield just sitting on his back. And why don't you tell him how you tried to convince the Baron that it was not his shield?
I get asked the question, says, "What is that on your back?" And my instinct was to say, "Would you believe a turtle shell?"
Master Roshi style.
And I had him roll a perception check.
Which I failed.
No, not a perception, persuasion. I can't talk, it's late. And he made like a 3.
Yeah, I rolled a 3.
He says, haha, nice try, give me back my stuff. So he basically wound up taking your shield. He gave Hunt the full $200 which he had promised, because he doesn't realize that you stole some of this treasure from down under.
And I only get half.
Yeah,
honestly, he came out on top, so what does he care if I took a few handfuls of gold?
Yeah.
And he came out on
there
top.
was, over 200,000 gold pieces?
Like,
50,000.
Was it even really stealing? Because I didn't set him back any. We put him ahead even.
Right. So, and that was pretty much it. They left. They got their treasure and their loot. Happy day.
Let's tell him about the Todoroki goblin, or Todoroki kobold, though.
Okay.
So
that was after you got the Greek fire.
Yeah, I had this alchemist fire that I chucked, and I put it between them. So I had, like, one lit on fire, and then you ray of frost it, but you only hit half. So he was, like, frozen solid on one half and, like, on fire on the other half. And then I, like, crit hit him or something to kill him, and I cut him down the middle, so his fire half fell to one side and his ice half fell to the other. It was pretty
beautiful.
awesome.
I also I'm not tooting my own horn, but I did have a lot of fun acting out the kobolds' reactions and everything like that. That was actually really fun. So yeah, that was my little campaign that I brewed up in an hour. Lots of mistakes were had, but many lessons were learned. All right, so I would like to hand it off to who's next.
Me, D&D, the Lost Dungeon of Wretchedness, Big Rick Energy.
Oh boy, what a roller coaster!
So you guys got, I don't know, maybe halfway through this,
Surprisingly.
and
It took us, all 5 characters?
butts were lost, friendships were destroyed,
Not
Bugbear's dreams and ambitions were shattered. Everyone died. You did not finish, but you did get about halfway through. Lucky. So, it's a big dungeon. You were portaled into it, just found yourself there, had to get through.
Yeah, about to say, the 2 campaigns both didn't really have a quest line. You just kind of showed up there.
Well, his had sort of a story, but mine was just teleported in. This Rick and Morty thing is basically a starter set, so it's kind of for new players. Which is, so I guess it's good that you played it. But the first room was just a Sturge room, and I actually had less Sturges attack you than I was supposed to. I had 1 Sturge attack you each, and you guys could not beat these Sturges.
We had crap rolls.
We did. I crit rolled at least twice.
Each Sturge had 2 HP.
Really?
Yeah.
But we
That's
couldn't clear their armor class.
Yeah.
They even though they're these little mosquito bats, they have 14 armor class.
If I'm
kept rolling 12.
If I'm being completely honest, I think I should have been clearing their armor class because I wasn't taking into account the attack the attack bonus that I was supposed to be. So I was just taking the base roll and not adding my attack modifier to it.
Yeah, one of you was already knocked unconscious in that first room. That's supposed to be an introduction to combat for new players.
That was me. And for a little while there, G and I were just alternating, dragging the other's unconscious body into
for a little while there, not for the entire dungeon.
Yeah, okay.
Well, for the entire dungeon at one point we were both standing, but then Chungus had to go and nuke the room.
He also left you to die at one point.
I told him to.
You didn't. I left you.
I wanted you to leave me. There was no way I was getting out of the Pickle Rick room.
There was also the Goblin Room. You guys handled the goblins pretty well. One was supposed to get away story-wise, but you stopped it. The statue room was pretty funny, where you had to investigate the statues, and they're just normal statues, and they mock you for it. You guys skipped the Magic Mouth Room. I was looking forward to the Magic Mouth Room, and you skipped it.
Was that the one with when I used Detect Evil or Good?
Nope.
You said we skipped it, so we never even got to it.
You did go to the other Goblin Room, where it was the room full of the goblins playing the dice game. You defeated those goblins. You idiots went into the frickin' treasure room, which is the one where your second character was locked up and naked.
His second character.
Your second character was locked up and naked. Because there are a couple things in this story that can happen that make you lose all your gear. There's a treasure chest right next to him. Neither of them would open it, and it was full of your gear and healing potions.
Well, because it felt...
You said it was definitely booby trapped.
Yeah,
it was, yeah.
And I was already at 1 HP, so I definitely wasn't touching it.
And this is.
And you were at full HP, so your excuse was?
I was currently in the middle of reading my character sheet. This is not an excuse. Actually, it is an excuse. It's just not a good one, and I'm owning up to it. So I only heard half of the information you gave because I was trying to figure out what on earth my character even was, and I wound up still naked.
So you went naked with that entire character the whole time. No weapons, no
weapons,
armor.
no armor, no gold. Actually, I did get some silver because
Where you kept it, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Okay, so get this. He comes back as a cleric. I'm at 1 HP. I have previously looted his previous character, so I have all 350 gold that his previous character had, plus 35 silver pieces. And so he thinks he's going to be funny and tries to get me to pay for him to heal me. So I say, I'll give you 35 silver pieces. And he says, fine. Then he casts his heal wounds.
Cure wounds.
And crit fails it. So nothing happens, and I lose 35 silver. And then he said...
No, he didn't crit fail it, because you would have got injured if you crit failed it. I would have injured you.
Just ask Bonetooth.
Just ask Bonetooth Scale Skin.
And then doesn't use his other spell slot to try again. So I'm sitting there stuck at 1 health.
And you didn't even ask for your silver back?
It wasn't going to do me any good. It wasn't going to give it back. I eventually threw a spear at you to shut you up.
That was in the next room.
You did okay in the third Goblin Room. where you made those goblins puke up all the gold they swallowed. Where you have to figure out how the third goblin died.
I used intimidation to get that done.
That was really funny. And then, because you went to the other goblin room after this one, actually, you did the goblin rooms out of order. And you crit failed an arrow, shooting an arrow. So it shot backwards into the goblin in the other room, tore his skin off as it rocketed through him.
I feel like...
And then his screams alerted the other goblins. That might have been overkill on my part, but...
I currently wonder... who was punished more for that crit fail, me or the other goblin?
Yeah, he was
the other goblin was just sitting there, and suddenly an arrow comes out there and just rips all of his skin off.
Did that goblin die? Did I get credit for that?
Yeah, he died. That was really funny.
It's like one of those scenes from like Tom and Jerry or Wile E. Coyote where they're just sitting there and they just 1 second they're fine, the next they're like their skin or their fur is just taken clean off.
You guys also messed up the writer's room. This is a really weird room. It's just an empty white room with the person who wrote the dungeon sitting at the desk trying to finish writing this room. And they can manipulate reality and do whatever they want in here. Anything they want.
So what were we supposed to do? Because...
just walk through it.
Oh.
But if
that's what I was going to do.
But if you bug her and distract her too much, she'll make some enemies to get you off her back. And so I just rolled for random enemies and I got zombies. So you had to fight some zombies. But the thing was, you guys were out of the room. And then G turns around and was like, one more thing. I'm going to talk to you more.
I was trying to be intuitive.
I could tell I could tell this writer was getting more and more annoyed. I'm like, come on, I'm naked. Let's go. I don't want to do this.
I was pissed off because I had lost my one and only family heirloom. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Tell us how.
Because that's how my first crit fail went. So I'm sitting there, and this is back in the Sturge's room. And so I decide, hey, I'm going to swing this great axe, which for my character was a family heirloom, and been passed from my family for generations. I swing it over my head at the Sturgis. I miss with a crit fail, and Hunt takes this opportunity to show what kind of punishments the DM can and should be giving out.
Punishments are at least funny.
And asks to see my character sheet. And so I hand it to him, and he hands it back to me and says, all right, you miss, but your strength is so strong, you drive the axe into the solid stone ground and cannot, under any circumstances, be retrieved.
Yeah, it's stuck in the ground, your family heirloom axe.
So I'm pissed off because the one thing that made my character defining and unique was this axe, and right off the bat, it's gone.
Yeah, first room.
Yeah, and then
finally
I feel better.
So the other thing with my character is that snapping bones relaxes him. So at any time we kill an enemy, like I think the first time we met the goblins, I take one of the goblins, I rip his arm off and just start cracking his bones because it makes me feel better.
Like really messed up bubble wrap.
And then when Chungus's first character died, after I looted him to make myself feel better, I crushed his skull underfoot, which did make me feel better.
You guys also had a fun time in the pickle room.
That was not fun.
That was when my first character died.
Was left to die.
Because I did my acrobatics roll. The big, fat, meaty guy with a negative dexterity stat made his roll, and you couldn't. You were stark naked.
Every time you fail dex in there, you knock another jar off the shelf, and a lycanthro pickle appears.
I feel like that room, if you're not careful, is just doomed to fail you.
You can't fight more than 6 at a time. But yeah, this room could totally wipe you out.
That's just... It's a cool room, it's just evil.
Yeah, but you left him behind to die in there. They just ate him.
I'll admit it, I left him to die.
I mean, I was already dead. I mean, it's like if Chungus decided to stay there, I mean, that's all you'd hear about this. The campaign would be over.
Before that, though, you had fun in the butt room.
Yeah, my character lost his butt.
Yeah, there's a butt trap that takes your butt. And
remind, there's no pain, no sound, nothing. It's just... 1 second there, you have regular butt cheeks, and from what I was told, they just disappeared.
Yeah, your pants deflated.
I like to think there's no hole back there either.
They just poof.
Yeah. And then there was the mage room with that injured mage that you could do nothing to help because you left behind your partner to die, and then you were naked with no gear. So you just couldn't help this dying mage.
Yeah, I literally said, I got nothing. First thing I said was, ouch down on population you, bro.
You guys also just walked through the room that had all the figurines and the little miniature maze in it?
I tried to do all I could with that room.
I perceived it poorly.
You didn't touch any of the monster miniatures.
Again, I'm at like 1 HP, and I'm terrified that if I touch something, it's going to spawn next to me. Because you could see clearly, and we had perceived enough to see that this was moving in real time.
It wasn't. I told you multiple times they were moving while you were still.
But even still, there was a cleric and a barbarian figure there. And the cleric didn't come in until halfway through the campaign. So it was clear it was mapping us, whether we were moving or not.
Not really.
That's what
it seemed.
We were so scared of what may or may not have happened, we just didn't think things through.
Cool. The mini doors room was weird.
I sat that one out because I was dead.
I lucked my way out of that one.
Yes, you did. Just one by one, all the doors. Wizard room you didn't get to do. You bypassed the Meeseeks room, which I was real excited for. You just went right past it. I really wanted to roleplay Mr. Meeseeks, but thank you guys for ruining that for me. The evil clock room is no fun with just one person. I'm going to not describe that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You didn't go to the other goblin room, which was just crazy. You didn't go to the bathroom room. You sure as heck went to Tommy Two Butts' room. That's ruined a man's life.
We went to town on Tommy.
Multiple crit fails were had in that room. And at that point, I was like,
the problem
what are they doing?
Is that we shouldn't have gone back. It's clear he didn't like us since Chungus decided to ruin his life's work before we left.
Because this is where your second character came in.
Yeah, because I was too stupid just clanking magical rocks in the back.
Yeah.
So the first thing that happened was we get there, and I'm really friendly. Naked, but friendly.
Yeah, he's a genius bugbear that's trying to make a cannon that can destroy the butt trap.
Yeah, nice little callback. And I'm real friendly to him. I say, is there anything I can do to help? And he directs, she's like, yeah, can you go help that idiot? And he points to
No, that's not what happened. He was like, study my notes. And you're supposed to study them for an hour of in-game time. And then you...
Crit fail.
Did this horrible... I don't even remember what the check was. But you just...
It was an Arcana check.
Yes, that's right. It was an Arcana check. You had to use an Arcana check to understand those papers. And you burned them on a freaking torch. And he was like, my life's work! There was more than just the cannon in there. Go see if that idiot over there can remember
and luckily we both rolled, I think it was 18s.
Yeah.
So we remembered what it was there, but we could only remember the cannon. We couldn't remember anything else.
So you fixed this cannon, and he was like, before we go, just know that I will hate you forever.
I don't recall that, but...
That's because you walked out of the room, and he went on this big spiel while you were checking the pizza.
This should also be noted that the character that I'm being reintroduced with is strictly just like cutscene fodder at this point. I don't really have any chance to take an action with it, than the remembering roll. And so
after you left Tommy Two Butts' room, you did though, and you just didn't do anything.
I had the chance to, but I didn't do anything.
We actually went back to the big butt room, and I successfully destroyed it, which brought all the butts back for this cult that had lost their butts to the big butt.
Yeah, you didn't go to their other room, so you just saw them there for the first time.
And Tommy Two Butts was actually really happy. Apparently a lot of these guys were his friends, and they had gotten their butts back. And I thought, oh, okay, he's really happy now. I wonder if he'll do me a favor. Apparently not. We go back to his laboratory. And I'm like, hey, Tommy, what's up? He's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, hey, you know how I helped you with that butt thing? Think you could help me out with some spare clothes and armor? He said, no.
It was like, you've ruined everything. You got rid of the curse, but I still have two butts. And you ruined my life's work.
And I said, I can help you with the two butts thing. I am a cleric. And you said...
Oh, yeah? How?
No, you said, no, he said, prove it.
And then you cast, what, radiant fire on him?
Yeah, he tried to incinerate the bugbear. Tell him what you rolled, bud.
The crit fail.
And then proceeded to nuke the room.
So just a fireball exploded in the middle of the room.
I died.
Now,
yeah, you died. You burned to a crisp.
I rolled high enough to dodge it.
Yeah, you dodged it unscathed. The bugbear took a serious hit but did not die, and then both his goblin lab assistants were incinerated. And then after you were dead, you tried to de-escalate the situation, and you were like, it wasn't me, and he was
had nothing to do with it.
He was like, screw all of you guys. You didn't pass your persuasion, and he was like, screw all of you guys, my assistants are dead, my whole lab is gone, a life has been wasted. I have 2 butts.
And then proceeds to hit me with, 16 damage?
Bugbear?
He didn't hit you.
Yes, he did. That's what killed me.
You didn't die to that. You were still the ranger up until the end of the game.
What happened? Because he hit me exceptionally hard.
I don't know.
No, it's because you just teleported him in as Jerry. Like, he just walks in on the situation.
Yeah, he knocked you out, and then Jerry came in, and he was like,
whoa.
Tommy Two Butts was like, get that one out of here. And then you went into the commercial room where a bunch of monsters were just watching live stage commercials, and you had to participate in one. You got booed and got feces thrown.
Yeah, I got resurrected at that point.
The Hobgoblin helped you out.
And I used Prestidigitation to clean us off.
I'm running around with 5 health.
Next room killed you, though.
Yep.
The Ooze Cult room.
That one was gross.
Just the vomiting.
Yeah, with the vomit ooze monster and the cultists, and you took care of the cultists really easily.
Yeah, we actually.
And then the ooze destroyed you.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, we were just overwhelmed.
You were both dissolved in its vomity flesh.
Ugh.
You didn't get to see. When we tell you the titles of the other rooms, just so you can hear them.
Sure.
Pirate Room, Clone Room, Heavy Door Room, Swifty Room, Mimic Room, Virus Room, Lever Room, Chapel of the Buttless Room.
Is that the...
Yeah. Okay. Nothic Room, Frankie Freem's Room, Treasure Treats Room, Nice Butterfly Room, Fun Skeleton Room. I was looking forward to that one too. You guys didn't even get that far. Mama Owlbear Room, Boss Room. And then that's it. You guys got about halfway through. This thing could be done in a day if you took the whole day to play it, probably.
Yeah.
If not, it's probably a 2 or 3 sessioner.
But despite the fact that it was just really impromptu, really spontaneous, and improv based, today was really fun. I enjoyed it. I think I've laughed harder at this than I have it with any of the sessions that I've played as Fate.
Yeah, there were some real fun shenanigans going on. That Tommy Two Butts stuff, man.
I was both like crying and laughing at the same time because I had just been given this brand new character and I didn't have anything to do until he got nuked, and it was not my fault.
But that's me.
You ruined the whole game. You left him to die. You freaking blew up the room he was in, so he didn't have anyone to play with.
I want this to be clear. Every time one of my characters died, except for the first room when I took major damage because I failed all my rolls, every other time it's because I was left to die or killed by this jerk.
And I'll be honest, I was starting to get tired towards the end. That might have impaired some of my judgment a little bit. I am owning up to everything because it was funny as all get out.
It was.
But I was tired.
Oh, it was a good room. But at least there's still stuff because you're going to end up playing it again with...
Yeah, I feel like today was a really good beta test day because it got me some practice. We broke in a new player. And you got to brush up on your DMing skills. Cause,
I DM'd relatively recently on Discord. This is the first time I've DM'd in a physical group, though.
The funniest part was, I think, though, is just that of all the practice you got, you just kept getting more and more either disappointed or frustrated because every time you thought you'd fixed a situation or we'd gotten past something, we would just screw it up all over again.
We were just you were. I felt bad for you because you were in a constant state hunt of bad dice rolls and bad decisions.
And it didn't help that we jumped in you hadn't read on all the rooms.
I rolled a lot of nat 20s as DM today.
Yeah.
A lot.
You rolled a lot of nat 20s, we rolled a lot of crit fails.
There was one goblin attacking you on disadvantage because you surprised it. And he rolled a nat 20 and a nat 1.
And the only reason why we didn't get destroyed was because he had disadvantage.
Yes, the disadvantage, he just accidentally decapitated one of the others.
Which was good on our perks. We didn't want to fight any more goblins.
Yeah, there are a lot of goblins in that.
Goblins!
I think it's just because they're a nice, basic little foe.
You can put them just about anywhere.
You can make it as lethal as you want. I've seen some guys run goblin camps where they've got so many traps, kind of like kobolds, and they can just wreck whole parties with the environment.
Yeah, they're basically the same race. They just have different anatomies. And one's dragon worshipping and the other's not. But yeah, I think that's it for today's cast. I'm good. I'm Gucci Gang. I didn't want to get into too much detail with the Rick and Morty because we're going to do a big Rick and Morty story time down the road. But that's it. Anything you guys want to share before we bounce?
I thoroughly enjoyed my first time playing Dungeons and Dragons.
And I had a very good time for my first DM experience. I'm actually looking forward to playing the first scripted one, which we keep talking about, Waterdeep. But that one's a little bit more detailed, has more stuff for me to relay.
Yeah, much bigger.
Yeah, much bigger, much more detailed. So I think today is really going to help me when it comes time to run that.
But we're going to play some of Karen's first. And I'll try to give us a non-D&D episode next time. It's just been D&D after D&D episode, but that's all we've played. So
we just haven't gotten any new tabletop games.
We need to do an episode on Theros set. We need to do an episode on Pokemon Gen 7 cards. We need to do an episode on Smash Up.
We definitely need to talk about the new Magic the Gathering set that's coming out.
Oof. We'll do a video on it after it ends. That's when we do the videos on. Or not videos, sorry. Magic. I'm tired too. All I want to do is watch one more episode of Harmon Quest and go home. Can I watch one more episode of Harmon Quest? Is that good?
We're definitely going to watch one more episode at least.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you all once again for tuning in. Check out the description for links to our social media and also places where you can donate to help support the show. But that's it once again. Thank you all. And we'll see you next time when fate knocks at your door. Gucci Gang.